How's it going, Barnaby? My name is Nigeria Chambers of Big Go Belt Media. Congratulations. I'm very excited to talk to you about your new film, The Seeding, which made its world premiere this year at Tribeca Film Festival. And this, as I mentioned, your feature length debut. Before we actually get into it, the film has now shown, is actually shown twice. There's additional showing that's going to happen. And all of the hard work getting to this moment, from actually doing the film and then wondering, well, what's next? And then, submitting it to Tribeca, then getting approved and watching it with the fans to now having time to sleep on it, to possibly have seen it the second time with the fans. And now you're sitting
Yeah.
here talking about it. What's all of those emotions and how are you feeling?
Oh, kind of exhausted. Yeah. Uh, but good. I mean, obviously, the premiere is the most exciting thing. And that's fantastic. And great seeing all the cast who are like from all over America, just like flying. And, a lot of them are kids as well. So they're like super excited to be there. And so it was super fun. But then actually, last night's screening was really nice because it was the first time I'd seen it. Well, actually, I didn't watch it with them. I went for the Q&A at the end, but just
Mm-hmm.
watching it come out and watching people, seeing people in the audience at the end. And this is an audience who do not know me at all and do not know anything about the film. And as opposed to the premiere where it's like friends and like who've been hearing me talk about this for years and people who worked on the film. So suddenly you're like there with this group of people who know nothing about it. And the fact that they reacted so positively and was that was really exciting. It was like very cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you're entirely right. The first screening is going to be your support team, your friends, your
Yeah,
family, the folks that
yeah,
love you. And
yeah,
it could be biased there, but
yeah,
overall, everyone's excited to be there. But yeah, that
yeah,
second dose is the folks that are truly like, huh,
yeah,
this
yeah.
looks interesting. Let me see what's up.
Yeah, I know. People I just talking to people afterwards. They were like, "Yes, I didn't really mean to be here. Like somehow I ended up in this theater, and like, holy shit, that was amazing." So it was really cool just seeing this really genuine enthusiasm. Just like people were just blown away. So it was great.
Yeah, well deserved, man. And folks, you get another opportunity to check this one out June 17th as part of the Tribeca lineup this year under the midnight category. Again, we're speaking with Barnaby Clay, who is the director and making his feature length debut with this film. So, first of all, I got a chance to check this film out early. Fantastic film, man. And I was really blown away. And I keep reiterating it that I didn't that the fact that it's your feature length debut and it's really a film and shall I say most folks when they step up for their first feature length it's sometimes a work in progress. It's sometimes like a lessons learned. And I watched it twice and I was like, I'm trying to not fanboy, but like I really can't find much wrong with this film. I think it's done amazingly well in all aspects. We could talk about the cast, we could talk about the cinematography, the writing, and so on. But instead, I decided that I'm going to turn it to you. Could you take a moment to spotlight some of the folks that help you really bring this film together over the years?
Oh my God, it's a long list, but I mean, uh, well, I mean, beyond the personal people, like my wife, who's had to like listen to me for like eight
They
years.
absolutely get their love. Absolutely,
Yeah,
man.
bringing my producer on board. Sorry, I'd not worked with him before, and I was trying to find somebody who's like, this is a low budget film, so like, I want to find somebody who's going to be like in it to win it, and just
Yeah.
like be ready to like go through the slog and the pain and the misery that is there when you make these films, and because this is a really really hard film to make. I mean, we're in a canyon, we're in the middle of nowhere. It's like 18 days, and these are long days. I'm the writer as well, so when I'm not on set, I'm like furiously rewriting. I didn't get much. basically for like a month. It was just like no sleep. But uh, um, so yeah, bringing him on board, have Brian Etting. He was fantastic. My cousin is the composer, Tristan Bechet. He's somebody I've worked with for years, and he's somebody I sent the script to very early on, and was like sending me music from the very beginning. I probably had like 20 tracks to before we even started shooting,
Mm,
so which is great, just like a great tool to be able to use to play the cast, to play, everybody I brought in like heard this music and was just like,
yeah.
okay, I can begin to see it now. My editor Stuart, who's fantastic and very good at like, you know telling me to kill my babies, and the cast, obviously, just so good and so dedicated, just they're it's rough doing these films, and but they're there and they're in
Yeah.
it, and they're standing in a canyon at like in the middle of nowhere at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and it's like 25 degrees, and but they are like wearing nothing, naked, and so I mean, there's too many people to go into, but just like, everybody was just very supportive, and felt like I had a great team.
Yeah. I had a chance to talk to Scott. Scott was like, yeah, it was very cold.
Yeah, yeah, it was tough. It was not fun, man. Not a fun shoot. There was
Yeah.
one day, actually, the opening scene with the
Uh,
baby walking through the desert. Um, that was a friend of mine's grandson, actually,
mhm.
and that was just like 8 of us in the desert, just outside of LA, and that was really fun. Actually, that was like the one day I was like, "Yeah, this is fun. Funny films can just be like this, low stress."
Yeah.
Even though it was a baby, but it was just, it was just kind of yeah.
Yeah. Um, before I go to like the particulars in the question, I kind of want to save that to the end because it's a little bit of a spoiler. So I want to warn folks before we get to it. Um, yeah, you mentioned the score. I would almost be beyond curious to hear the rest of the tracks. I thought the score was fantastic, so chilling, really enhanced a lot of these scenes. I'm definitely glad you had a moment to shout out your composer for this here, because yeah, I think that was upon my first watch, that was one of my biggest highlights in terms of the production. Was the score was really
Yeah,
really really good.
yeah. I mean,
Beeping noises, woo. Yeah, the
yeah, it
sound
was.
editing, woo.
Yeah, he's super talented, and like, you know, obviously being my cousin, like we've known each other forever, and he's also like, very like critically harsh as well. So like we can like rely on each other to just be like keep each other in check,
Yeah.
and I know where he comes from musically. It's a very like intense, like he started off here in Brooklyn
Yeah.
making like making industrial, like heavy. He used to live across the road in Williamsburg. This is like 25 years ago, across the
Yeah.
road from a metal workshop,
Yeah.
and his music was very like that, just clanging metal, so I knew that he was like gonna deliver something that was kind of like the nightmare that I wanted it to be, basically.
Yeah.
And then I had a fantastic sound team over in England, this place 750, who again took it to the next sound and music, people, especially in horror, and it doesn't get enough due, but like it's really just integral. It's just like I mean, if you watch that film without music and with just like a very basic sound, you'd be like, yeah, this is cool or whatever. But that just takes it to there, because that's where the nightmare becomes something very specific,
Yeah.
and, yeah. So
1,000%. Nightmare is the word I should have used in my review a lot more. Yeah, that's the truth.
Yeah.
Oh man, I've got so many questions that are just piling in my head the more and more you talk here. Uh, because independent films and festivals, there's always sort of an idea of, obviously you want to get the exposure, you want the fans to come in, but you obviously want this to land somewhere. Has there
Yeah,
been
sure.
any discussions yet, or do you foresee this on a particular platform or studio company picking this up? Has there been any thoughts about that just yet?
Yeah, I mean, well, we have uh later in the production we brought XYZ into
XYZ,
the
yep.
picture. Yeah, and they're an amazing company that's like they produce a lot of horror films.
Mm-hmm.
Produced Mandy, which is like one of my
Yeah.
favorites of the last like decade, and yeah, they just have a quality to their work. And so when I approached them, because we ran out of money basically, and we needed to like get this film finished.
Yeah.
And when they come on board, I was glad because they come with a certain amount of, they're already there. They're their network is already out there.
Yep.
So they're, we've been discussing with them, and obviously it begins, this part from now on is what you're talking about, is like where it goes to
Yep.
next.
Yep.
They begin to selling it, shopping it around. And so, but it's like obviously people dream of the A24s and the neons and those kind of
Mm-hmm.
places, so we'll see. It's just the
Yeah.
beginning. So I'm excited
Yeah.
to see what's going to happen though. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for you, man. You mentioned A24, Neon, Shutter, IFC, and
Yeah.
I could imagine everybody's.
Yeah. All those
Yeah.
guys. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So out of the many, shall I say, restless nights in the initial part of this, as you mentioned, you wrote this film as well. Is
Mm.
where did you phantom this, as you said, nightmare of an idea? And when did you and beyond the idea, when did the pencil hit the paper?
Quite a long time ago, like about 8 years ago. I was playing around with this idea, which was loosely inspired by one of my favorite stories, Woman in the Dunes, and a Japanese story, which was made into a film, and which is amazing. But I didn't want to go and make that. It's already been made. It's fantastic. And but when I was with my wife and we're in the desert, she was pregnant, and when you're facing fatherhood and your life's about to change, you do start thinking about, especially like there in the desert, you start thinking about these very like big primal things, and that is where so much of the idea actually began, was just on that walk, actually. Just and then when I was writing it, I kept on going back to the desert to write, and during my sessions I'd like go out for a walk, and yeah, suddenly again you're just like, I'm alone, I'm in the desert, and you can't help but feel like a little tiny, you're like you're like, it's me against this, I've got no
Yeah.
chance. So yeah, so I started really working on that about 8 years ago, and then it went through various iterations, and we had it all ready to go just before the pandemic at a higher budget with a different cast, and then it all fell apart, and then we had to rebuild it. And it's the journey of independent movie. It's just it's a long and fraught journey, but like, so I'm just happy that obviously I'm here at the end. I survived.
Yeah, and I just want to take a second to say this is a lot of the work I try to do in letting folks know. I know folks are excited to see the film, the end product, but understand that Barnaby has said a lot of key things here. Going broke, not being
Sure.
able to complete the film, having to go into
Yeah.
business mode while doing this here. Then the pandemic, something none of us were accounting for. Then the state of like, now what, and this is why, us as the fans, we have to support these films. We want to continue to be entertained here. We got to go out there and do our work and support, tell folks about it. That way folks like Barnaby can keep creating. Because I will say, just much like I said to Scott, I need you two to link up again. Scott also said that because of what he does in his free times in terms of hiking and
Yeah.
getting out there and having some isolation, that this was sort of like a calling for him, but it has now really changed how he feels about being out and
Yeah.
walks and stuff like that. And as you mentioned, feeling really small at this really big place. I thought it was a really cool sentiments that he gave, and now your aspect of with it is cool too. So
Yeah. Brilliant.
so folks, check out the seating again. It made its world premiere this year at Tribeca Film Festival. Keep your eyes out for it. It will be releasing for the public very soon. Fingers crossed. We want to see it get out there. And again, that's why if you have your chance to check it out at Tribeca, you have plenty of time to check it out there. But I want to talk about a few things in the film, in particular, spoiler wise. So I definitely just want to make sure you all know that I'm going to actually talk about some things in it, so you don't get spoiled here. And going right back to Scott and his character. Well, before that, first, what was the thought behind using, which I'm not familiar with, the different moons to like designate the time periods, like Beaver Moon, the term I was never familiar with. I had to go look it up. But what was the thought behind using that as sort of like designators for how much time had passed?
Well, I mean, obviously that wasn't in the script. It was just like, when you're editing, you're suddenly faced with certain challenges, and you're like, yeah, it would be really helpful for the audience to know, like, have a really very clear demarcation of like, okay, he's been here for a month now, he's been here for 2 months, he's been here for 4 months, so and then there's one where it goes all the way around, so he's been here for a year, so it's and so I was looking for something there, and just like, it was an idea which it felt very in tune with the themes of the
Yep.
film. Obviously the film starts with an eclipse. It's like there's a lot of talk of, well, a lot of tie into like a woman's menstrual cycle, just like all these things which are very much a part of the film, and a part of the themes which are already there. And I'd never really seen it before, and I wasn't really so familiar with it. I just started seeing these names pop up, and I read about it, and I think it's from the Farmer's Almanac, actually, or something like that. They use these descriptions, so it just seemed like it just felt right. And then I actually shot the background plates in my shed in my garden, much to my wife's, she didn't really like that, having this plate of rotting food just sitting there for like 6 months. I'd call up my friend of mine as a DP, and I'd just be like, hey, the maggots are hatching, you gotta get over now. And so we'd go and shoot it, and like again, just like giving this visual clue to like time passing.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Thank you for that. And then for
Sure.
my final spoiler question here, this is a spoiler, but I'm still going to be kind of vague with it as well too. But a particular character meets a very almost. I was so mind blown at this time. I will almost say like an untimely death, because I really didn't see it coming out of nowhere. But a particular character eats a shovel. Before this happens, the character sees what appears to be imagery of space of some sort, or maybe just something in terms of astrology. Could you talk about what this moment meant in the film?
Do you mean the image that is there that you're talking about? Yeah, well, I mean, within the film, yeah, like I said, it deals with these very primal, and the idea was I wanted to tell a very like big story in a very small way, and I was very attracted to a friend of mine, who I've worked with before, Davey Evans, is like a visual artist, and we did some stuff before with his work, and he films these elements all in a camera, and it's generally like macro photography, you know, like I don't want to give his secrets how he does it, but like his stuff looks like on one level it could be like cells, you know, just like cellular, but on another level it's like could be the universe, you know,
Yeah.
and it's like huge. And I love that. And so just putting that as this motif throughout was really important. And then just bringing it had to be in these certain moments. So like bringing it then was like, yeah, it had to happen because that's a moment of just like, yeah, it's just, you know,
It
it's a big
it
moment.
it it is. It gave me Mandy vibes, as you mentioned
Yeah.
earlier. I
Oh,
was
yeah.
like,
Totally. I like stuff which just like, you know, takes you out, basically, takes you
yes,
to like this sort of, you know, cosmic realm, basically.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, everyone's not going to have an opportunity to talk to you about it to kind of clear that up. But I tell you, like, it's such a good feeling. And anybody who's really into like thrillers and horror, especially the combination of the two, that's sort of the feeling you want outside of the film is to say, like,
Yeah.
I wonder what that meant. And then you start to add your own commentary and you
Sure.
collect with others. So, like, I really did appreciate it. But again, I got the opportunity to get a little extra clarification on that here.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so my final question here, and I know you're really basking in the moment right now, but and I was again very thoroughly impressed with this film. Congratulations once again. Have you got back to work already? And if so, what are you working on that you may be able to talk about?
Yes, I have. Yeah. I mean, this unusually, I actually last time because my last film premiered at Tribeca like 7 years ago, and we
Mhm.
finished the film probably about 20 minutes before the premiere. You know, it was one of those nightmare situations. But this
Yeah.
time, I finished in December, just before Christmas. I like finished the sound mix, and that was kind of the last thing, basically. And then so I've had all year to uh, get down to work on something, and I've been writing, and it's still in the kind of psychological horror world.
Yeah.
But it's actually like it's set here in New York City, and it's kind of more in the sort of Cronenberg body horror. It's intense. It's intense, but
Oh boy.
I'm very excited about it though. Yeah,
So would you bring up Cronenberg? You're like, oh well, this is going to be a bloody massacre mess and
yes,
gore
it
everywhere.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also beautiful as well. You know,
Yeah.
so not one without the other. I like the combination of both. You know,
Yeah. That's
it's
awesome.
interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. I think it deals with some really very topical issues that people are going to be like, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what people think of that one. You know.
All right. Well, Barnaby, it's been a pleasure to talk to you folks again. This
Likewise.
conversation was all about his new film, Deceiving, making his world premiere this year at Tribeca Film Festival. Again, as of today, you still have another in-person screening available. To step over to Tribeca's page. I will have that link in the description below. And then if you don't catch it at Tribeca, just keep your eyes glued because
Yeah.
I would expect announcements to be made very soon about where you can check out this film. This is a film that I think, if it does make a theatrical run, certainly go see it on the biggest screen possible. But if it is a digital and at home release, please cut off all your lights. It's only going to enhance things just so much more. Have a good sound system too, because as we talked about the sound mixing, the score, it just makes the film so much more better. And fantastic performances by Scott and Kate, the duo that leads this film, with some other supporting cast members that come in and are hella creepy. I'm just gonna let you know right now. But nonetheless, this is a fantastic film, and it's been a pleasure to talk to you
Yeah,
today.
absolutely. Thank you so much, man. It's been great.
Absolutely.
All
Absolutely.
right.
Thank you so much. Yeah.